Hey everybody, I've been asked by several of my subscribers that they want to see a portrait, a human portrait. Everybody knows I do dogs and cats and birds and lots of animals, but I've been asked to do a human portrait. So recently, my uncle, my mom's brother, had posted some photos that my grandfather had taken of my mom when she was 18 years old, and it was like at the beach, and she's just wearing a sweatshirt. And I thought, oh my gosh, there's my portrait. I'm just gonna do this one for YouTube and for Patreon too. So here we go. In today's video, I'm going to do this. This is my mother. And I am going to do this little portrait of my mom. I'm just gonna do it on a small canvas. It's just gonna be on a, actually, the substrate is like an 11 by 14 linen panel, and yeah, that's what I'm gonna do, and this will be fun. The colors are very warm. You'll see, by looking at the reference that I have, the cool side of the face and a very warm side of the face, and being that my mom's so youthful in this picture. The photo looks like it could have been taken yesterday. I mean, it's very timeless. And so that's what we're gonna get into. I'll go over a little bit about some of the color mixing. I'm basically using loosely the Zorn Palette. For those who aren't familiar, the Zorn Palette is made up of just 4 colors. So a lot of that mixing will happen ahead of time. But I always add other colors to it. Because I can. So you'll see, and I'll take you for that ride. So again, thanks for joining me. And if you are my subscribers, thank you so much. And if you're not, please consider subscribing. And know that this particular video will also be available full length, full time, all on Patreon. So be prepared, because it's gonna be a long video, and it's gonna be everything I could do to edit the YouTube video so that it can fit into the normal constraints of a YouTube video. So, hey, let's go along on this trip called Mom's Portrait. Okay, now I am just doing a very, very, very loose sketch, and I'm using a combination of raw umber and let's see, one of the greens. I guess it's the oxide. And okay, so it's mainly just paint thinner, really. So you will notice as I'm doing this sketch that by the time I finish up, this is going to be a much larger piece, because I tend to morph as I go. I don't take calipers and measure things out. Perhaps I should, but I will morph this until I am pleased and it looks like my mom. So yeah, this is going to take a while. Know that today's video is a very long video. So if you need to buzz through some of this and, bypass some of it because you've seen some of this kind of stuff before and you want to get to the meat and potatoes, feel free. Just go ahead and buzz through. So anyhow, I am just kind of giving it just a loose sketch, and I know I have my cool side of the face, it's in shadow, and the bright side of the face. So I'll be as much rubbing paint out and putting paint in, and I'll go back and forth and hem and haw until I actually feel like I have a pretty close rendition of her face in almost like a value study. Okay, so you see my reference here on the left, and I am just trying to you know, actually get my proportions, and I can still see already that it's off. My mom has a little bit of a deeper chin and et cetera, et cetera. So I can start to see where I have my problems, if you will, from my rough sketch. So I'll keep tweaking it until I finally get it. But yeah, I'm still just using the chromium oxide and the umber and just trying to sketch this in. All right, so you can see here, I've already extended her face on the right side out a little bit, and that's kind of the beauty of using just the paint thinner and the wash of color here, because I can add in, take off very easily. It's this basically non-committal at this point, and so I've already changed it a lot, and you'll see that chin will keep getting deeper and deeper. It'll get longer and longer, and eventually this will become my mother. So it's a process. Okay, now I'm starting to mix roughly a Zorn palette. So I started just mixing a whole bunch of gray, and then I'm mixing my my yellow ochre and my cadmium red, and I have my orange, and then I started with my shades down below, doing a tint there. Here's another, I had the shade, and then I went ahead and painted mixed the tones, and there you have it. So it's very, very rough. It's and I'm just kind of carving everything in. I'm using Michael Harding's King's Blue because she was at the beach when this photo was taken, and I just like the blue background, and it kind of does nice with the warm colors on the side of her face. Now, if you look in here, now you're starting to see me actually adding in paint, and her chin's a little bit longer even now. It'll keep getting, you'll see, it'll keep morphing. So I'm basically just trying to get in the light values, the dark values, and just, it's almost like I'm a sculptor and I'm sculpting out part of her face. So I'm tweaking a little bit off here, a little bit adding there, and that's just the process for me. And that's, you know, I know that there are artists that really get their pieces planned out well, and for me, it's the adventure of just kind of watching it morph. You know, I really enjoy that aspect of portrait work. the challenge of working from, doing a portrait from a photograph, especially one that was taken at a distance, and I'm just doing the face, right, is I can't really see the actual detail. So here I am trying to get in my mom's eye, and you can't really see it in the photograph. I mean, so I don't want to make it up. I need to be able to execute what I actually see, and then with the knowledge of just basic anatomy, try to make that eye fit into or what I see, the shapes that I see. So you can see I keep zooming it out here, and I wanted you to be able to see the palette, but you can see that at this point I've added a few other colors. You could see there's a little bit of yellow, cadmium yellow light up there because she has such a warm yellow. And let's face it, yellow ochre is actually a pretty cool yellow. So my mom has what she always calls her lower lid is quite large, and it always has been. And so you got to get those in there, right? And just create the shadows. And I'm just really etching out her face here. What's really interesting or kind of fun about doing something like this. Now, this is my mom at 18. And I can see in her face, I could see my siblings. I can see myself. I can even see my cousins. It's just odd. I can see my family in my mother's face. And with each little tweak and each little, addition and subtraction, and each time it gets a little bit closer and closer to looking like my mom, it's like, it's familiar. I know that sounds ridiculous, right? It's familiar because she's family, right? But I can see it happening. It morphs. Here I'm starting to get a little bit more refined. You notice now that her chin is definitely longer than what it was when I started. And I'm using a smaller brush, and in this case I'm using an Eclipse pointed round. It's one of Rosemary's brushes, and I believe it's probably a 0 or a 1. And I like the Eclipse filberts. I like all the Eclipse line of Rosemary brushes because they are a synthetic mongoose, and they just feel, they're very responsive. There's enough spring to that fiber that it actually, you feel like you could really push, but it also gives you enough softness to let you blend. And so it's as good for application as it is for blending. So I'm trying to refine my mom's nose. Like I said, my mom has the tiniest little nose. She hardly has any bridge of her nose. So I have to get that part right because that's my mom's nose. And so you can see the colors there on the left, what I'm using. And so I have different tones and tints that I'm working with. I did add to the palette I have Michael Harding's Genuine China Vermilion, and that has been a really nice color to add to this portrait. I also have added, I guess it's Michael Harding's Brilliant Pink, and Alizarin Crimson by Winsor Newton is on there. And of course, I think I did add Burnt Sienna and Indian Red. So, but I am still making my tints, tones, and shades with these colors and basically working off a modified Zorn palette. And so here I am. I'm still using the same brush, and I will probably do a lot of my tweaking, but you'll see her face will keep still moving out on the right side. So that ear will change. Everything's going to change. But I see my mother coming into focus, and with each tweak, she becomes more real to me in this portrait. Remember, folks, if you have any questions about anything you're seeing in today's video, please leave it in the comments section. Let me know what you're thinking. You might have a question about, say, like the brushes I'm using. This is the Eclipse pointed round that I'm using right now. It's one of Rosemary's brushes. But whether it's brushes, brand of paint, whatever, if you have a question, please leave it in the comments section. And just want to remind you to subscribe if you're not already a subscriber. And if you have something that you would like to see painted, this came to me from one of my Patreon patrons as well as a YouTube subscriber. They wanted to see a human portrait, so that's why we're doing this one today. And you might have something that you'd like to see, so go ahead and leave it in the comments section. Let me know what you're thinking. I appreciate it. Okay, I'm still using the Eclipse Small Round by Rosemary, and I'm trying to get the details and the little nuances of my mom's eyes, you know, the actual shape of the lid and everything. So, you know, she does have that in, you know, a very, you know, her eye is set in, and I'm trying to get the dark values in there, and the little pooch under her eyes, and I'm just trying to get it all in, and it's coming together. you can see at this point her chin has morphed quite a bit and it has come down. So by moving her chin down, then I've got to redirect her neck. Yeah, so that's just kind of how I do things. I just keep morphing it along. But, you know, I keep seeing my mom just creeping in here. She's coming along. So I am putting in, you know, obviously I have the cool side or dark side of her face and the warm, bright side of her face. And I still have to get the details in. So I'm putting in the little folds in her face and where she's smiling and all that good stuff. Again, here's where the challenge comes in because the photo reference doesn't really show the detail of the eyes, only that it's very shadowed. And so I have to try to figure out where the upper lid versus the lash line versus where the pupil starts, etc., and make sure that it makes sense. You know, you have to remember that, you know, of course, the eyeball, as ball implies, is a little round item that sticks into a socket. So I have to be able to get that. Now I have an incredible amount of shine on this canvas, but I am trying to discern where the eyeball, the iris is, where the eyelid is, and where the lash line is. So I'm coming below, so you can see what I'm doing. And it's starting to look like my mother's eye. And I'm trying to get that in here. So, you know, and I can't make this stuff up, right? I can't just assume I know anything. I have to really observe closely and then try to imply what I'm actually seeing because it's so subtle in this photograph. So there you have it. Even with the dark side, there are still highlights, and you can see that side, the immediate left side of her face, is highlighted by, I guess, the ocean light that's behind her. So I'm putting in her eyebrows, but right above her eyebrow, you're going to have another highlight where that bone structure, that orbital structure, comes out from her head. So you'll see it's actually kind of, you'll see I'm using a lot of King's Blue. And I know that looks really odd at first, but it will make sense here in a little bit because I got to blend it out. And I'm using my little red sable because red sable is an awesome blending brush for doing portrait work. So I have to kind of get that blended in, and then I've added a little, you know, of course, chromium oxide. There's colors that you don't really necessarily think that would be in a face, right? Like green, but it makes sense when you see it all pulled together like this. But yeah, you'll see me put that highlight in and take it out and change it around, and you know, I'm getting it into that space, but it's coming together. You know, like I said, I keep seeing my mom peeking out with each tweak. Now, I kind of mentioned earlier about how sometimes just at least I'm not suggesting that we all should have this major understanding of human anatomy, but you know, there's muscles right here in the face that, and she's out, my mom is actually in the sunlight, and so she's gonna squint a little bit, right? So I'm just kind of blending this in, these muscles right here. And I know it looks very extreme right now, but I will be blending that away. I am definitely looking at my photo reference. It's gotta be a little bit darker here. Just put a little bit more. Yeah, you didn't see me do that. I usually tell people do not use your fingers. You know what makes a really good smudger, y'all? Is Q-tips. Q-tips right here. A Q-tip will do it too. Okay, so I'm just kind of suggesting where this muscle would be slightly raised up. I'm just trying to, just a little bit here. Trying to, you see, I was going to use my thumb. Trying to blend without using my fingers. I'm trying. But this is really, a Q-tip is pretty, I know, it's a very cheap but yet efficient way to blend. If I'm not mistaken, I probably picked this up from another artist. I think I was teaching a workshop someplace, and you know, teaching workshops, I'll tell you what, you do learn a lot of neat tricks from other artists if you're really willing to learn and look. I am taking a little, oops, the wrong color. I'm trying to get a darker purple. I'm gonna take a little bit, those are in black, and making just a, this is the only blue I put down on my palette. I just need a little bit because there's just this like dark shadow right here, and I'm gonna blend that away. So I'm washing off in paint thinner my little sable, and I'm dipping it in oil, just a little bit of oil, and that just kind of lets me loosen this up a little bit. So I can blend this into some wet paint here, so it can almost blend it away. comes down a little bit further. Who knows? It could be and this is just something I see, and I'm not going to try to guess what that is. It could be. My mom would probably say, why did you do that? But I am not trying to second guess what I'm looking at. Yep, and I was grabbing my thumb, my finger again. I'm just, see what a lovely little blending tool that is. So if you don't want to leave that there. And I want to bring this color in a little bit more. Just put that color in. And I'm not wanting it to, I don't want to lose my really dark, cool color on this side of her head. And I actually feel like I need to go back in and put more of it in. So I'm grabbing some more cadmium red. A little bit more cadmium red, a little bit more of the ivory black. That turned out to be my cool dark color over here, and I'm gonna put some more of it in. My boy Singer is just walking around here. He's such a good boy. I love my dog. For those of you who don't know my dog Singer, he is a 4-month-old standard poodle pup. And he's named after the one and only John Singer Sargent, right? You know I had to do that. He'd have to have an artist name. So I'm bringing this down a little bit. Again, back to the whole idea of how there's muscles over the eyebrows. So the thing is now I have to I'm gonna take the paint off my brush and try to, since we know this is wet and this is wet. Oops. That's not what I wanted to have happen. It's actually a very cool day here in Kingsport. But I'm so hopeful that spring is not that far off. You know, I noticed today when I had Singer out that I can see the little pips of my daffodils just barely kind of sticking their heads up above the dirt. And I'm like, yes, I love it. I'm just gonna take this soft brush and just try to blend that away. Blend it, blend it, blend it, blend it, blend it. Okay. Still very far from where I'm going, but you're starting to see or getting an idea that this is, you know, the shape of the head here. Let's see here. I'm gonna put a little bit more of the, I would consider kind of a fleshy tone. There's a lot of yellows in. Grab some of this color on the top. This part of I need to, and you can see there's kind of little paint boogers on there. Let's kind of blend this away here, and I still have paint boogers. Paint boogers, for lack of a better word, those little blobs of stuff that doesn't need to be there. So I'm just kind of getting that in there. Now she's got a cheekbone right here, and what I'm gonna do, I'm gonna use a larger brush. In my photo reference, and I'll show it to you here in a minute. just kind of smoothing this out to kind of homogenize the color just a little bit right now. So I can start to add, it's very light from here. It's almost like from here to here, I can see her cheekbone. And then this whole area is very light, almost like a white, yellowy white. Oopsie, I just got some red into my color. Did not mean for that to happen, so let's try that again. Mixing over here on the side, what you can't see is I'm taking titanium white and a little bit of cadmium yellow. Just a tiny bit of pink, just a tiny bit. And I want to go ahead and emphasize some of these places. So it might seem a little bit extreme at first. And I need to get those some oil in this. I'm gonna go ahead and pop this out a little bit for you so you can see more. And my mom does have the prettiest little ears. Seriously, she's got tiny ears. She's just a little tiny thing. And I'm just kind of hitting some of the places where I know that there's highlights. And I still have to revisit the whole nose area. Kind of been avoiding it. And I just see these little areas lit up. So I am going to go ahead and just put a little bit of oil in here and start kind of blending that out. It's very hard, but she does have a little bit of the jaw area here. And I've got to, going back in, putting a little bit of a color, even though I told you initially I started this out primarily as a Zorn palette. But because I see colors that I can't really make with the Zorn palette, and I really want this to be as true to life to my mom as I can, I added obviously a lot of other colors, and I put a little bit of Indian yellow in here. My mom's jaw is gonna drop a little bit more, and it disappears. So I will have to like soften this up here. Let's see, I gotta put a little cadmium in there. Excuse me. So, you know, she's got this right under here because she's at a beach. So there's a lot of that hot light on her. And I'm gonna go ahead and put that right there. And that jaw comes down like right underneath here. I know that's a very extreme little line there, but forgive me while I go ahead and oopsie, not that way. Yeah, and I just drug my finger through cadmium, and you've heard me talk about that before. Usually I tell people not to do that. Now I'm going back over here to my shade that I made with the Zorn palette, which was basically yellow ochre and ivory black. Going back under this part, and it needs to be even shadier. If that's can I use that word? It's gotta be shadier, meaning I'm gonna add a little bit more black to it. Yeah, let's see here. Yeah, that's what I'm looking for. And it does have almost like a greeny cast to it, right? And we're gonna go ahead and put that there. And we're just gonna leave that. There is an interesting color, and I'm gonna grab, I've got a little burnt sienna on my Palette. Like I said, not a Zorn color, but I'm gonna go ahead and put a little bit of this darker line there because I see it here in my photo reference. And I am going to try my best to share the photo reference as much as I can. It's slowly getting into, I feel like my mom's coming into focus here. And I'm gonna use a smaller little sable, dipped in oil, basically clean, just kind of and I'm just kind of blending that. So, all right, I'm gonna go back, switching over to some of these lighter yellows in here. And I've already kind of got this. And there's actually some pinks in here too. It's funny how you see all these colors, right? Now, this is going to be, and I keep going back and forth to the blues, and I've got her, I'm gonna grab a different color, a different brush here. This is just a number 7 Filbert Rosemary Ivory. And I'm grabbing a little bit more of my King's Blue, my kind of my background color here. I didn't want her to look like she had a bulge in her back. Sorry, Ma, I didn't mean to have that on there. So, yes, my mom's a pretty, pretty girl. Okay, so it's really here, and then it goes out. She's got a sweatshirt on in her photo reference, a West Point sweatshirt, which I think is kind of cute. Oh, cute mama. So I am going to, actually I need some more ivory black. And for the record, for anybody wanting to know, I am using Michael Harding's Ivory Black. And it's, if I can find it. Where is it? Did I put it in the wrong box? Shoot. Okay, I found it. So I got a little bit more of Michael Harding. I'm gonna go ahead before this dries. I just need to get that kind of just getting that a little bit knocked down on. And there's a lot more I have to do in there. I just wanted to kind of get this in here. She's always been conscious of where light is hitting. And so that's why I wanted to just kind of hit those high points. I'm still not exactly satisfied yet. The distance between her mouth, her smile is wide, and it goes, so I always line stuff up with, I take it to the reference, I look at the reference, that smile goes all the way to the corner of this part of her eye, and it does. So then I look at the distance here, and I'm still not really satisfied with it. I may be pulling that out again. I keep watching. My mom has she has a very perfectly round face or oval face. And I'm gonna warm that up just a little bit with a little bit of peachy. So let's look here. We're talking micro amounts, but I keep pulling it out. Oops. And because I keep adding more blue paint, so it's like to the sides. And I keep watching the angles here. So I've just widened this part of her. And it's a lot warmer than I have it here. It kind of switches over to a little bit of pinks in there. And I'm gonna put a little bit of that peachy pink in that, just a tiny bit, because it does kind of get warmer on this side of the I know that cadmium. I'm grabbing a little bit of that cadmium and bringing it down here. I'm probably using too big a brush, but I like, kind of have it in my hand. So I'm gonna just keep using it. Okay, we're going to bring some of that cad down into this color just a little bit. If you could just appreciate how much this piece is morphed. So you watch this from start to finish again, and then you'll be like, oh my God, she's all over this canvas. She just kind of, you know, I'm like kind of fluid, you know, I just move with it. So before I get all crazy and start putting in my sweatshirt here, I gotta make sure I have everything looking like it's where it needs to be. Oh, come on, so get it. I have to go back in, put that back in. Back in. It is just that little bit of a harsh line right there, and I'm trying to get it into the degree of intensity that I see in the. There's closer to it. I'm grabbing a little bit more of the cad. Thing is, I gotta put some more cad down. I was trying to avoid it, but looks like it's gonna have to happen anyway. Remember, this is beach. You're gonna have a lot of warm colors, reflective light. Who knows, maybe she's got a little sunburn too. That's just what I'm seeing. Back to my dark shade here, yellow ochre. And just making that in there. Oops. Got a phone call. And there, folks, is my mom. I am satisfied. Well, here we are. There's the finished piece, and I'll hold it back here. It was fun to do. That's my mom. I mean, I'm trying to hold this in. It's funny if you hold it at different angles, it looks really bizarro. But I did indeed have a lot of fun. I think I have my mom's teeth. And you know, my mother's also an artist, and she, so besides her teeth, I probably also got her artistic prowess as well. And so Mom, thank you so much for that. She came in the other day and she gave me a little critique. She said, I had the lips too big, or, just, so it was neat to have Mom, to kind of check it out. And, she comes and hangs out with me at the studio. My mom is an amazing artist. She's an amazing woman. She's got the most generous, beautiful soul. And yeah, this was really fun for me to do this because I could feel my mom while I was painting. So I hope you enjoyed today's video. And if you did, give me some thumbs up. I appreciate that. And if you're not my subscriber, you know what to do right there. Go ahead, subscribe, please. And know that you'll be able to check this one out on Patreon. So if you are my Patreon patrons, yeah, this is coming down the pike here. So again, thanks so much for joining me. And from Kingsport, Tennessee, I said thank you, and I'll see you next time. Bye.